We did our presentation, our project on tokens' influence on modern society. My section was on how the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit influenced pop culture, hippies, and environmentalism. The mass distribution of the Lord of the Rings books in 1965 drew the attention of like hippies and environmentalists, and they were like, yeah, I really like this theme about little guys making a difference, because that's kind of like eccentric around, I guess. But in rock and metal music, Led Zeppelin took a liking to Token, and Rush named one of their songs Rivendell after one of the like town villages, I guess, in the Lord of the Rings. They also, not so much that they influenced it, but they kind of caught the attention of some religions. Wiccans, pagans, and neo-mystics liked the Lord of the Rings' prominent incorporation with nature, because paganism is a religion that's centered around nature, respecting nature, and Wiccanism and neo-mysticism are two subgroups of that religion. So they really took a liking to that. And Tolkien's usage of Elvish in the Lord of the Rings. The pagans were kind of like think that he was trying to appease to them by making them think it was he was trying to relate it to their use of Welsh and rituals. But even though Tolkien didn't like intentionally incorporate any kind of religion into the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, Christianity, the Christians, they still like to think that that was also part of their religion, and it came in fourth place in Christianity Today's survey of the best 100 religious books. And Tolkien didn't really like either of this happening because he did not want to be related to religion. That was not his intention, but it happened.
I'm not going to read all that because that's way too much, but multiple species of animals were mostly found in New Zealand were actually named after the Lord of the Rings because the Lord of the Rings characters because of the movies and books. And there's something called the Gollum shark. It's a long-nosed deep water shark. I have a picture. I'll show you a picture in a second. And they made a new genus of species, Smeagol, because that was Gollum's original name. And there's a slug in New Zealand. Smeagolida is the genus, not Smeagol. The first Gollum species was Galaxus gallumoides. It was just a small freshwater fish with really big eyes. It was named after Gollum because the big round eyes. There's also two unnamed species that were just called Gollum A and Gollum B, which I never understood why they would call them Gollum A and Gollum B. But, and it influenced New Zealand also with they have a $10 coin that has Bilbo Baggins on the back, and it says New Zealand in English, then says New Zealand in Old Dwarvish runes under it. And it is all. The Lord of the Rings movies have increased tourism exponentially because of Hobbiton and the sites in the movies. And the top picture is of a Gollum shark. That's what it looks like. And this is a video of the touring, the touring Tolkien things in New Zealand.
When they did the forest thing, you can imagine the mayhem of trying to run through a forest path when you're wearing 6 inches of rubber, carrying all this armour, almost not being able to see what you were doing. It was quite a lot.
When movie director Peter Jackson cast New Zealand as the magical land of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series in 2001, a wave of publicity and production swept across the South Pacific Islands. And while the film crews have come and gone and come again, Movie locations continue to be a magnet for tourists. The December release of the first prequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy has tour operators geared to show off and grow their piece of Middle-earth.
This time round, for Lord of the Rings, when the filming was finished, the Hobbit holes were destroyed. This time round, for the Hobbit, the whole sets have been rebuilt back originally as they looked with all the gardens, the flowers, and it's now permanent and stayed rest.
By 2004, a year when 6% of tourists cited movie locations as their main reason for coming to New Zealand, this remote sheep farm in the North Island welcomed an unexpected 50,000 visitors who made the pilgrimage to what was at the time the crumbling leftovers of a film set. Today, it is one of the country's most spellbinding spots. 44 hobbit holes carved into the rolling hills near a town called Matamata.
It's quite a detailed set, and it just looks like this little magical world in the middle of, well, Middle Earth, I suppose.
The movies have touched all corners of the country. Shooting locations are spread across the two main islands. And with The Hobbit, New Zealand is fully aware of the potential. When union disputes threatened to move production offshore, Prime Minister John Key, who is also the Minister of Tourism, rewrote the country's labor laws to keep the cameras rolling in New Zealand. During production, the Army built roads to access shooting locations, like this one that now takes tourists to Hobbiton, where the 70th circuit is peppered with juicy tidbits about how closely guarded the sets were.
Even our government put down a no-fly zone of 5,000 metres. So if you flew over here, you were told that you'd lose your licence for the rest of your life. That's how tough it was.
The country is dedicating at least $50 million to promoting Hobbit tourism, much to the benefit of veteran companies like Nomad Safari. For 10 years, they have guided the eager around Queenstown, starting with views of the misty mountains that lie just west of the Elven Forest.
So they've got to go across these mountains again in the Hobbit, and there's some shots of them on the mountain itself.
Guides regale visitors with tales of playing orcs and wildmen, even if their cameos as extras haven't always made the final cut.
I was there, and there were 70 of us there for a whole week of filming, and not one second of it got to the movie.
About 70 Lord of the Rings filming locations with GPS coordinates can be found in a guide that is being updated for the latest movies.
When you look at the pictures of the snapshots of the film and they look rewind, it's exactly the same. It's just like we lay with Frodo.
Yeah, we were Frodo and Sam.
So cute.
Yeah.
Locals have already been on the lookout for the new spots.
Right up to the top of the main rapids, and then same one down here as well. They see a few barrels, yeah.
In the North Island, just a few minutes from State Highway 1, road trippers can find a dam on the Waikato River that gets released 3 times a day, temporarily turning a stretch of the creek bed into rushing rapids that seem made for the silver screen. Visitors will find plenty of haunted scenery fit for a hobbit here, and in a country that considers itself an adventure tourism mecca, searching for Middle-earth can mean finding the perfect adrenaline rush.
And that was just showing some of the film sites and what you can do in New Zealand if you go there, if you go there.
I did mine on news production, and how I found this information was, it's basically the cast and the characters' kind of thoughts on what they had and where they set the locations at. And where Hobbiton was, it was the model of Matamata, where it's basically just a really deserted kind of farmland place. And while they were shooting, before they even started shooting, they had 4 months, I think it was, of intense training on learning how to fight and getting all built for the intense scenes that they were going to do. And even during the movies, they would stop sometimes and have their gym workouts to see what they were doing wrong. And one of the actors, I think it was Feely's actor, he said that they've been here for 5 months and have barely even scratched the surface of starting the movie. And when they had their free time in their trailers trying to get their makeup on and all that, and their costumes, they would even sing the songs and have their own little representations of it. Like one Balmer was the ACDC version of it. And for the Lord of the Rings, they used these new kind of 3D cameras where they had a camera for each eye, and then would reflect it off mirrors so that they could get the right screen projection, so it wouldn't overlap each other. And before they let Peter Jackson run as you saw in Michael's video, they wanted to make it preserve the Hobbiton land, so they gave it to the Prime Minister, and they preserved it each year for decades to come. And that's basically where Michael's video was, and that green dot on the screen of New Zealand is where wildlife is.
Video games. Now there are two different types of video games that deal with Lord of the Rings. And the first one is ones that actually take place in Middle-earth, and there are about 33 of those, and they range from MMORPGs to Lego figures, and they're on all different types of platforms like Xbox, Xbox 360, all PlayStations, and PC. And the first one was made in 1982 by Melbourne House, and it was called The Hobbit. And the last one made was The Hobbit: Armies of the Third Age, and it was published by EA. And for the second type, it's games influenced by Lord of the Rings. And Tolkien has influenced many games, such as World of Warcraft, all those games, and EverQuest. And even Dungeons and Dragons is claimed to have been influenced by Tolkien and his work, because it contains many of the same races and elements of the movies. But the lead designer, Gary, says there's no relationship. Okay, and this is the cover art for the first video game, The Hobbit, created by Melbourne House, and this is some art for the last game created by EA, which is The Hobbit: Armies of the Third Age, and this is some more cover art of World of Warcraft.
I focus on how they designed the costumes for the movie. And Anne Maxbury was the designer for all of the costumes. And she previously worked on other costume designs for different movies like Star Wars, Clash of the Titans, and Alice in Wonderland. And there were 13 costumes for the dwarves that she had to design for. And she was in charge of all the costumes for the movie, but found the 13 dwarf costumes the most challenging, because each of them had to have a different look to them. And some of them had higher ranks than others, so that had to be included in the costumes as well. And she had 4 months before they began shooting the movie to design and make the costumes for the actors, the stunt doubles, and the small-scale dwarves, which all had to be identical. And one of the costumes she was especially proud of was Radagast's costume, and she wanted his costume to be very organic looking, like he would disappear into the forest. And this is a picture of Peter Hamilton, who was the actor of Rowan, and this is him before they put all the makeup on him, and this is him after.
So I'm officially the first person in the makeup chair on The Hobbit.
Officially.
That's amazing.
3D 48 frames is pretty unforgiving, and we have to change our whole way to go about coloring these things, because what we found out in early tests that if there wasn't enough red in these pieces, they would punch up yellow and react differently than normal skin with blood running through it. So here's an example. This is Graham McTavish as Wallen, and we've had to add a lot of red tones to his makeup. So if you notice, if you stick your hand up next to your face, how incredibly pale this man is right now.
I've barely seen daylight for the last 6 months, that's fine.
So we have to add the blood in the piece to make him look like a normal flesh tone. It looks freaky now, but on film it's going to read beautifully.
Additionally, Denny's kind of picked up on how The Hobbit gained popularity after it was made into a movie, rather, and they kind of made a movie based on The Hobbit.
All right, Wilson, go ahead.